that you are a man who really, you have a passion for fine arts. Give us a little bit about how you fulfill that passion.
Well, one is I have a personal art collection. I've been collecting art since I was in an undergraduate school in college. And more recently, clearly, Ben F. Jones and Amir Baraka came to Sacramento, and those international artists, one of course has written over 40 books and is also a poet, and the other is a fine artist who has been all over the world, has been influenced all over the world. And so it was a real treasure to have those people show up at the Guild Theater.
Yes, yes.
And they were just magnificent, and I was real pleased to see the Sacramento community come out and support that, affirm that, and enjoy that.
Yeah.
And I also noticed that you were there.
Yes,
as
I
well.
was. I was there, and I enjoyed it. And I want to reiterate that this, who actually hosted this, was the Evolve.
Yes, Evolve, the gallery. They have really stepped up to the plate, along with some of the other artists and art galleries that are in the area. But they have stepped up to the plate and really showcased high quality art. They've had artists from all over the United States, and it's just been amazing. But I mean, it's the same. You could say the same thing about the Kumba Collective. You could say that, you know, the same thing about the SAC, the Sacramento African American Arts Collective. You know, you could say the same thing about Master Barber and Beauty. You could say about Frankie the Framer. You could say that about a plethora of venues where art has been sort of like an explosion in Sacramento.
Yes, it has.
And so we've seen a lot of fine art and fine artists. We've seen a lot of authors. We've seen a lot of poets. And so all of this, to me, is an affirmation of who we are as human beings. It's our culture. It's been put on display, and it helps us to understand who we are.
Yes.
And it helps us to understand, as Jesse Jackson used to say, that I am somebody.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
that we come from a group of somebodies.
That's right.
And so that culture being on display, those images that are on the walls, you know, those are images that say, yes, we can. In another way, they say it culturally.
Yes.
They may not say it politically, but they say it culturally.
So through the arts, we're saying, yes, we can. We're speaking to the, and one of the things I want to speak to is that at the event with Amir Baraka, he was talking about how really bringing in the youth, continuing to bring youth to things, to events like that, so they would begin to see what we're doing as a culture, to see that we're still alive and we're still thriving. But because I believe there's always a seed in conversation, one thing that really stood out to me that he said to our people is he spoke about the fact that, I believe it was it Harriet Tubman, or the freeing of the slaves, and I believe he said that she said she could have freed more had they known that they were slaves.
Isn't that heavy?
And when he said that, I'm thinking he could have freed more had they known. And I think about today, our existence today, there are still a lot of us that still function in that state of bondage, in that slave mentality. And more of us, you know, our people of our color, need to be freed from that. It's a mindset.
Well, you know, you're absolutely right, because that's the whole point, is if you think you can, then you can.
Yes.
And if you think correspondingly that you cannot, then you cannot. And so that is why the mindset is so important.
Yes.
Because the mindset that says, I can, I will, I must, the mindset that is working hard, the mindset that is focused, you know, it's like your mindset. You're focused on clarifying and making sure the message gets to the people. And so, you know, when you have a focus, you're better able to bring that focus to fruition. You're able to implement that. And so, Joe, Grace, I'm just delighted to spend a little time with you and talking to you.
Yeah.
I just think it's a real delight.
Awesome, awesome. And you're talking about focus, and I'm thinking about the arts. And I really want to encourage more parents to get their children involved in the arts. And I know there are many different programs here in Sacramento, along with Kumba and Evolve, and I believe there's also the Soho Sojourner's Truth Museum Art. Multicultural
museum.
I believe that she has functioned. Get your children involved in the arts because it really strengthens their focus, and they need an outlet to be able to express themselves. And thinking of, this brings me to another point, expressing oneself, because this gentleman also has a book in poetry, is it?
Yes, I do have. I'm working on a poetry book now, and I'm doing my best to try to get it out before the election.
Okay.
So yes, I am working on that because I do believe that the creativity, the ability to narrate, describe, and otherwise or render clear is important because there are kernels and messages and, as you say, seeds that need to be planted in the soil of our minds so that they germinate and grow and you know, become something that's susceptible to the naturalness of the sun, so that, you know, we can enjoy that.
And that's another part of the community you support, spoken word.
I do.
I believe that's the correct term, spoken word. We have many spoken word artists. Well, Dr. Sweeney, Mr. Sweeney, I like to call him doctor because he's earned the right, I believe. You, please, leave us with something. Being the Power Torch series, we want to pass this on. What would you like to leave our listening audience with?
Well, I would only say that the first step of knowledge is to realize our ignorance. There's always something that we don't know, something that we could know, and we need to be able to step back sometimes and say that, hey, how can I know that? And, you know, ignorance is not a curse word. You know, it just means that we don't know.
Just don't know.
And so the question is, how do we go about knowing? And so I would just say that sometimes we do that in conversation. Sometimes we do that with education. Sometimes we do that with reading. Sometimes we do it with research. But we always do it with observation.
Always with observation. So that means if you talk less and listen more, you'll get the seed of knowledge. On that note, we want to end this and say goodbye to our listening audience and our viewing audience. This is Joe Grace at Crave the Spotlight, and we want to once again thank Mr. James W. Sweeney for coming and sharing some of his knowledge and spending some time with us and giving us some seeds that will germinate in our spirits, and hopefully each of those of you out there, you grasp something from this and it's going to grow. I want to thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a slice of heaven without having to die.
All right. It's been my pleasure.
All right.